any kind of church fail.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
man.
I don't know if I can even
I have
tell
stories
your
that I can't
stories.
say on
I feel like
camera.
I can't, you can't tell.
Mine are like the kind where I didn't mean, I was innocent. I was pure of heart.
I was innocent.
But the truth is, we've had some moments and like, unless you were there,
It's like you
don't
missed
know.
it. You missed
had
it.
to- oh man, I got one for you.
I know. I was gonna say you're gonna throw me under. I feel like
Anyone got a phone here with a rubber cover?
I was gonna say that happened here.
I just remember that one time where you like threw the
still
band
don't
under the
know what I'm
bus,
doing, but I
and they're all
think-
looking at you like, what?
They start a song, which is the right song, and I start singing whatever song I wanted to sing in the moment. And I stopped, I turned around, and I was like, I'm sorry, the band is playing the wrong song.
I don't even understand where it came from. I don't. It was like, if you have moments where you live your life and something comes out of your mouth, you're like,
Yeah.
it's like in heaven, someone like threw words into my mouth and it came out and I was in front of 700 women. I'm like,
oh my God.
why did that just happen? And
I was like, God wants to know you. And all the lights went off in here, like blackout. There was a pause and then boom, it came back on.
and everyone's like, okay.
Like,
God
God
wants
knows
to
what
know
to
you.
know me. Oh my God. I talked about some dead rat or some dead squirrel in the back. I was like, oh, for all the moms, if you go to the parenting room, you might smell the dead raccoon in the wall. And Caleb's on the front row like, don't tell them. Like, don't tell them.
I remember I put my back out, but I was unwilling to basically give up the service. I was like, no, I could do this. But I was so drugged up on like Robaxacet or whatever they gave me. that
Nurse Nick to the rescue.
Yeah, he
As
basically-
always.
he fed me something from the pharmacy, and next thing you know, I'm kind of just like, well, you know, it's
It
just
was the greatest service. I think it's one of my tops. Yeah.
it's crazy.
Crazy. All right, let's do our thing, right?
Yeah. How do you start a 10-year anniversary kind of moment?
I don't know, you just start it. All right.
We're good to go?
Let's do this.
Let's roll. All right.
So, 10 years.
10 years.
10 whole years. I can't even believe
What?
it. It has been a decade together.
Yeah.
Guys, we are back here at the Gladstone Theater. Happy anniversary, everybody. We are here where it all began. And
crazy.
truth is, as Jules and I kind of
So good to
walked
be
through the
back.
venue for the first time in what has been years, we
Yeah.
are flooded with old
Memories.
memories and
Yeah.
like just memories of old times. You know, the truth is a bit of a blast in the past. And you know, if these walls could talk, you guys, I tell you what, I remember meeting so many of you guys.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Matt and Jimmy Hyde just like a stone's throw away over
Yes.
here to my right.
I remember
about 3
seeing
rows
them
up.
across the room. They were so tall. I remember
Yeah.
being like, who are those guys? They stood above the whole room.
Yeah. And obviously having the privilege of meeting Steve and Janice Hyde as a
Yeah.
result of that.
Yeah.
Staple families, you know? Like
So
I
true.
remember meeting Donna and Christian Sobe,
they'd
who always used to sit up
in
this
the
here
middle.
in the middle section.
they would.
And they brought along with them Tyler Rourke, who
That's
these
right.
people have become family, you know?
Yes, they have. They've been along the journey. Now he's Ty, the funny guy, who all of our children know and love.
I remember
Smile.
Matt Sanjari sitting in the front row with Jules.
Distracting
always
me every
distracting me.
service. So
I
true.
remember Shay starting a nursery where no kids showed up for
No
the better part
kids.
of a year.
Zero
Oh,
kids.
man, it's just
Thank you, the DeBoer family, for launching our children's ministry. Thank you for multiplying your family.
either way, you guys. Today marks 10 whole years as a community together, and we're gonna look back over some of the markers and the milestones made along the way.
So
And
excited.
I think it's imperative that we celebrate those things, so we'll take some time to do that. But
Yeah.
equally important that we celebrate the moments and the memories
Yes.
made in between those.
best.
The moments and the memories made along the way, because that's
That is, I mean, that's what life is made up of, eh?
And I think that's the struggle for
Yeah.
many people is that we're good at celebrating like the mountaintops.
The big moments.
But there's so much that happens in between.
That gets you there.
Yeah, I think that's the nature about celebration. I think
Yeah.
it's easy to celebrate those big moments of achievement or
So
stats of a
true.
thing. But you know, as you look into the pages of God's Word, He celebrates starts.
Yeah.
You know, He celebrates steps and stages.
Yep.
And He celebrates the stories of life change all over the Word of God. And And so I think it's imperative that today we take some time to celebrate as God celebrates, because he's just good at it. He celebrates not just our progress, but he celebrates process as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but today I'm hoping that our story would cause even you to look at your own story, to reflect inward and go, man, how good am I at celebrating the things that I ought to be celebrating? Sure, I celebrate the stats, but do I, and I go to milestones for those milestone moments, you know?
Oh my gosh.
But the truth is that, do you celebrate the starts? And do you do it well? Do you celebrate the steps and the stages?
Yeah.
Do you celebrate the stories? I get it, you may not be where you want to be just yet, but I bet that you're very far from where you used to be. And I just think that you need to praise your way into the promises of God. Learn how to celebrate. And so today we want to invite you on a bit of a journey with us as we celebrate markers and milestones, but equally moments and memories made along the way.
Yeah.
And my hope is that you join us as we look back at our start, steps, stages, and the many stories of God's goodness at work across the lives of so many who've joined us over the years. And my hope is that it would just inspire something in yourself and cause us to, man, just take a moment to take a bite, because we've won some battles.
Come on,
and
we have.
so
Yes,
God
we have.
has brought us
High
a
five.
far.
Yeah, we have.
We've come a long way. So
We have.
hey, why not stay with us? We're gonna have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Some moments, some like wow, impactful moments. We're just gonna look at all of it. And my hope is that you get inspired for your own journey and all that lay ahead for us as a community as well. Love you.
One time it was sprung on me last minute at team retreat to do this skit where I was supposed to lip sing to a song. And about 2 minutes before doing that, when I went in the back room to say, okay, you know, I kind of got the lyrics, what do you want me to do? They gave me like a Nacho Libre wrestling outfit. And I was told to go do it in that, which I really didn't want to do. But as soon as I got out there, I just gave it everything I had.
Oh my, he is ready to throw down! Let's hear it up for Grudge, and it's all about that
What's one word that would summarize that experience for you?
Traumatizing. And I think more for Pastor Colin than for me. And I remember immediately leaving that and regretting it almost instantaneously. There was a lot of chest hair. And one of the guys said, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but whatever happens at team retreat lives on the internet forever.
All right,
All right, back at the old farm.
we are here.
Hey, you know what this feels like? Cribs. Do you remember that show?
MTV Cribs.
Like-
Now you gotta go.
Hey,
Mom.
this is actually where your crib was.
Father,
You were at.
we've come to visit. We've come to see where it all began.
Hi, guys.
You can be in the film, yeah. Be
You
here.
can
Say
come.
hi.
You can say hi.
That's all right.
Hi. I haven't seen you yet. Hello.
Good to see you, Mom.
Hugs.
You smell nice.
Hugs from another human.
So who's watching the kids?
My mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is the farmhouse. Now, when we began, this kitchen didn't look like this. It looks a little bit more like #Glebe right now, but
It does look like a Glebe house.
but when we began, it had like a roundabout cupboard thing. We had the same table here,
Yeah.
but and we would have potluck dinners every single Sunday, and the team would just kind of gather around, and we'd meet up in the living room. So come on, we'll show you kind of where the first church services of my church actually took place.
It's
Yeah, wow.
set up a little different.
You know, it's funny because when I was at the Gladstone Theater, I was hit with all these emotions of the beginning days because it was like, I hadn't been there since we moved out of that venue. Here, obviously at my parents' house, I'm here all the time. So I feel like I just want to curl up on the couch and go to sleep because I'm feeling
He
very sleepy.
always goes to sleep. when
But
we
there's
go
old
downstairs.
photos, you know, of a dresser right there, Brad and Ricky standing, and I was sitting here and we were like teaching and really just discussing together who we wanted to be as a church.
Yep.
because that's what we did. It was a kind of a closed door gathering at that point. There was 12, 13 of us. And basically...
There was 13, but we kicked out the 13th person because we wanted to be more like Jesus.
Yeah, that's what it was, right?
Yeah. Just kidding, we didn't kick anybody out.
But yeah, we basically spent 22 weeks, you guys,
Nice wink.
building culture.
Yeah.
And setting culture, who we wanted to be, not really what we wanted to do, because we didn't really have a clue how this was, the whole thing was going to shake down. And
We had an idea, but I mean, what in the world? We'd never done this before. It was like, we were newbies, big
We
time.
were.
We weren't even parents yet. I mean, we were so
Yeah.
young. We were like kids. I
Yeah,
feel
we were
like
living with your mom and dad at the time because we
Living
had no
with my
money.
parents.
And the only reason we're doing that is because, to be fair, we moved back from Australia.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to like land some new work. So I was
Yes.
working a part-time job 3 days a week
Your dream job.
at Future Shop,
Yeah.
not knowing what the future had in store.
Oh, is
See what I
that
did
not
there?
their slogan?
That's good. But in so many ways, we just had a whole lot of heart, a whole lot of hustle. It was easy to despise, overlook, because, I mean, we're in a living room. Look at this. Our house, our church, you guys, literally was a connect group.
It was a glamorous connect group.
And as the church grew, we started several connect groups. But if you
Yeah.
look at the heart of what our church has always been, it's just been about relationship
Being together.
with Jesus and one another.
Yeah, breaking bread, really simple stuff. And then obviously we moved out of the living room, out of the home, and we were going to do a preview service.
And that
which
required us to get a sound system,
lighting.
like some very like low scale like production stuff, like lighting. I remember having to scrub the toilets and the
the
urinals, in that
urinals.
venue. Ugh.
There's a photo. We should go to the photo of my parents. I remember they're turned around and they're scrubbing a urinal.
And in those days, you and I, we literally were a part of every team. We were on every team. There was no distinction between teams.
Yeah.
We're all just one big team, right?
Yeah,
that did
we
everything.
just made it happen.
Do you criticize the early days or celebrate them? Because they were
I think so. We're not critical as much as we cringe.
Totally cringe.
You know, I'm grateful for our beginning days, but it's equally, so I'm not critical of them, but I do cringe in the sense where you go like, oh man, like, wow, like, what did we even know back then? I don't know.
I don't know what we knew.
The truth is that we were all so young, you know, and so I understand why in so many ways you could look in and go, really? And yet here we are 10 years later,
Yeah.
and God is faithful, God is good. He is
so-
never...
He's so kind as
so
well.
kind and
'Cause
generous.
gosh.
And I think that our story, if anything, could give anybody faith to realize, you know what, God uses you to spite you.
He does.
If it were not for the grace of God.
Yeah.
You know, Paul said, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. And
Yeah.
I think that honestly, as I look back over 10 years of ministry,
Yeah.
if it weren't, but by the grace of God.
Yeah,
Right?
for real. And I think what's beautiful is equally, you know, God provides grace to see you grow, you know, like there's grace to start where you are.
And grace
like
to
your
grow.
history with God is enough to start. And equally, there's grace on the people
Yeah.
who came into our doors and sat and listened to us. What in the world did we say?
I remember.
I don't even know what I said.
You knew
Thank
you were
for
starting to
listening.
grow.
Probably half of it made sense.
We recognized that we started to grow when our parents actually began to go, wow, that was a really good sermon today. I was
Yeah,
like,
it
really?
was like-
Caleb, you're really growing in your
Yes.
communication. I was like, really? And
Yeah, that was so encouraging.
I just go like, if it weren't for these people sitting right over here,
It's true.
for our parents who
Listen.
believed in us and said,
Yes.
no, you can do it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
But shout out to all the young people with an aspiration or a dream in their
Yeah,
heart
a vision.
who feel young and looked down upon. Paul said it, don't let anyone look down on you in your youth.
Gosh, we've held on to that, hey?
And I'm just grateful that
Yeah.
now we're really a family church. We've everyone who started with
grown
us
up
have several
together.
kids together. We've,
Yeah.
you know, just growing and expanding. And so,
Yeah, true.
what a journey.
What are some of the fondest moments or memories that come to mind when you think back over the past 10 years of being in church?
Yeah, I think a few things come to mind. I think one of the hallmarks of our church has always been relationship. Because you can attend a church, right? Like you can come in, you can lift your hands, you can take in a sermon, and you can leave, or you can be part of the community.
I gotta tell you, my closest friends are the people that I've served with. And I think that's kind of where my life changed because, you know, before that I never led any teams. I've never been part of a church. I just went to church. I wasn't part of a church.
This team's been something that has been has become a huge part of my life.
Definitely my favorite thing about being part of my church for the past 7 years, 6-7 years now, is the people.
I know for me, walking through this last season with my dad passing away, having our team and our family and our pastors come alongside of my family in that time, dropping off groceries, checking in on us, always praying for us. It's like, it just makes the biggest difference knowing that you've got people in your corner.
Looking through all my photos of the past 10 years, it's just all family. Like, I think family is the word that sums it up the best. Like, most of my photos from the early days are food because that's what families do. We eat together. And
it was really like where I first found community in Ottawa, you know, just hanging out with people after church, you know, like eating ice cream with Shay, like hanging out with Steph, watching The Bachelor with Julie, you know, those kind of things.
I try to remember the events, and the events were great, but I think my fondest memories was in planning and preparing and actually making those events happen.
And at the end of some sort of event where people see the highlights and the big thing that's going on, in the background you get to see like family formed and community built.
I know I'm not the same person that I was when I joined church 10 years ago, and a lot of that is from like just being committed to my role at church, like producing a Sisterhood conference, just like the character development that happens in that, like the committing myself to the process of that. I've seen a huge change in my life.
It just makes the biggest difference knowing that you've got people in your corner in the greatest days that want to celebrate with you, and then in some of the harder days where you don't know who to turn to and you kind of want to just, you know, hide away and isolate, but you have people that are standing in your corner that are cheering for you and believing for you and fighting on your behalf when maybe you can't fight for yourself.
Being here the last 10 years, easily one of the best decisions of my life. But I think of what we've done as a church, of what we've accomplished, of the lives that can speak to change. Like people have gotten married because of our church. People have had families because of our church.
From the production team, I met the guy that became my business partner and the best man at my wedding. I met my wife, my best man met his wife.
Being part of this community has blessed my life so much. I mean, I found my husband. We have 2 kids now, and our family is a result of this community.
The most notable, obviously, is that we met each other.
Do you want me to tell you that I met my wife at church? That's a good one. Yeah, because I know if I don't, she'll be like.
I was able to find my amazing girlfriend, Jessica. How you doing, babe? I was able to find her in the church as well too. Yeah, I guess my priorities in the church at that time were misconstrued, but yeah.
People have met lifelong friends because of our church.
I would say 90% of my friends are close friends from my church. Those relationships have really lasted over a decade now.
Like when I mean family, it's like people who I'm able to rely on.
70% of the people that I talk to on a regular are church people. Majority of the people in my life are church people.
There's so many things that have happened because a few people in the beginning said yes to Jesus. Even when it looked hard throughout the 10 years, you know, even when it looked impossible. No church is perfect, but man, it has been so fulfilling and so rewarding to hear the countless stories and to just look back on our own lives, my life, and think, man, it has easily been one of the best decisions of my life.
You know, as I reflect back on our start, I want to encourage you guys not to despise your small start. It may be small, it may feel insignificant, it may feel unimpressive, vulnerable, whatever you may use to describe it. But I think that's the nature of starts, right? Yeah. It's like the Bible says that do not despise the day of small beginnings, because beginnings are just that. They're small, and they can feel despicable because they can be in so many ways easily ignored. They're not exactly making these big waves.
Yeah.
It's
You're just wanting to get to a different destination.
It's in seed form. And so it can be easy to compare your seed to the magnitude of somebody else's success around you and think, whoa, man, who am I?
Yeah.
And you can therefore walk away dejected from a start going, oh, what's the point in celebrating anything? There's nothing celebratory about it.
Yep.
And yet God says, do not despise the day of small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices. He celebrates to see the work beginning or to see the work start. See, God's just not a God who celebrates stats, but he equally celebrates starts. And I think that, as I look back over our life as a ministry, it may have been small, and in so many ways you look back, it was huge at the time, but it wasn't that crazy.
It was huge to us.
It wasn't that impressive.
But anyone looking in would go, oh wow, what a nice small start.
Yeah. But I think that it's like, thank God though, you got to steward the start well because it's small, but hey, it's a start.
So Freaky Fridays was actually Flourish Fridays. So we gathered together as a team, prep for conferences. It was a ton of fun. So every Friday we'd get together kind of leading up to conferences. And then Pastor Caleb started calling it Freaky Fridays because he would just find all of these weird creative ways to just scare and terrify you when you're least expecting it. So you'd literally be working and you'd see him like hiding behind a fridge or like on the side of a wall, just big grin, just waiting to scare somebody, into heaven. We'll say that. And I was definitely the victim of it once or twice.
But I love that he's here. What is it?
And I had these crazy reactions too. That was always fun. But I have to say, one of the best moments in 10 years was we were on a midweek chat, midweek online, and out of nowhere, Pastor Julia's like, hey, I'm thinking about scaring Pastor Caleb. And all of us who had been scared by him were like, this absolutely needs to happen.
So with the sun, it's just a matter of how.
Yes. This is for all the people who you have scared.
He was so rattled. He couldn't gain composure in the midweek. You could see him trying to collect his thoughts.
I frame that. The Lord.
Yes, you guys, we're waiting for this. I have so many people on my side right now.
Ow, I hurt my neck.
It was a healing moment for me.
You're a horrible friend. My heart leapt out of my chest, y'all. I just need a moment here. Oh my God.
There was an incredible amount of satisfaction in that. It just felt like God's justice. It was just like, oh wow, okay, full circle.
Okay, sweet. So we're rolling. So whenever you guys are ready, do your thing.
I hope you guys don't mess this up.
Oh, don't, Colin.
Okay, let's jump into it, I guess. So you guys have been coming for six and a half years now.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
It's crazy.
What was that like? What was your relationship to faith before you came to church?
There was no faith for me. You wouldn't have caught me dead, or you couldn't pay me enough to come to church. If you had asked me 6.5 years ago, would you ever see me in a church and kind of leading connect groups or anything like that, I would have laughed in your face. But honestly, I would have.
Right.
I grew up going to church as a kid. It's because it was a thing you had to do. My parents took me, but I used to make fun of religious people. And to me, it was a religious thing that the church was. You gotta dress this way, talk this way, act this way, be this way. So I didn't like the church.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for me it was different in that I had the same kind of context of feeling like you had to have it all together. Like there were rules that you had to follow to be accepted. And with, you know, stuff that I had gone through as a child and just my teen years and just feeling like, you know, super filled with shame. I just felt like I didn't belong. And I just, it was shame that really kept me from even exploring it. I really had this context that like God was, you know, angry or disappointed in me because of my choices. I really had like, I had it all wrong with how God saw me. So coming into church for the first time was basically just an invite from my cousin. And I just went like as if I was just gonna be a guest. Just like, you know, Christmas, Easter, I'd come and go. I never expected to be a part of a faith community. It was just something that wasn't part of our lives. It wasn't part of our marriage. And when I walked in, the difference was the language in the prayer and in the altar call, I remember. It's like, you know, regardless of what you've done or where you've been, like you can have a relationship with Jesus. And it was the first time that I thought, oh, like I'm actually welcome here. And so it made me, the community and how, you know, welcomed we felt. It made me want to come back right away. But then it just kind of opened the door and opened my heart to learning more about God's character and about, you know, how he saw me. And that was the biggest thing coming into church, is I didn't have an understanding of, you know, who I was in the way that God saw me.
So then what was that like for you, Jamie? Because I don't think I can even fully appreciate, you know, it's like Michelle goes off to this thing, right? Hey, I gotta go out. I'm gonna be back at lunchtime. And then she comes back and now there's this new conversation in your family that has never existed around faith. Like what was that like for you?
Well, yeah, it's at first I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kind of cool. And then it was I think we should all go. And I was kind of like, oh, all right. But in the back of my mind, I was like, meh. He goes, I know what this is really going to be. That, you know, she told me about the Elsa thing, and, you know, it was around Christmas time, so maybe they were stepping up the game, but...
Yeah, but the Christmas dial is a real thing.
Yeah. But so we walk in, and, you know, the first time, and I was reluctant, but it was something that I knew that she wanted to go, and she had a good time. So I'm like, all right, I'll go. And, you know, she talks about leaning in and hearing the messages and the word, and all I heard was, wah, 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 wah.
Right.
Kind of like my filter was the filter of what I grew up knowing what church is. I always thought it was more about religion and doing right and behaving a certain way and being told how you have to behave. I mean, and it started to flip, and, you know, it was more of like that shift in the mindset of, you know, me controlling everything in my life to putting my life towards Jesus and kind of learning about that and learning what the Bible stories actually mean and how I can apply that, I guess, in life.
Right.
Yeah.
When you guys look back over the last 6 years, like what have been some of the biggest changes that you've experienced?
Oh gosh, it's like, you know, from the outside, everything was great. We were married, we were happy, we were in love, we had kids, we had a beautiful home. You know, we had incredible friends, incredible family. But like, I remember just really feeling like there was something missing. Like one of the biggest things for me is I went, you know, 40 years, almost 40 years. I was 38 when I walked into church and sort of started to discover the truth and really like actually learning that, you know, God loved me and accepted me. It really allowed me like permission to be vulnerable and start to share and start to be open. I hadn't even been vulnerable with my own husband about things that I had gone through, things that happened to me as a child, you know, decisions that I'd made in my 20s and how I felt about all of it. It's like I was carrying and like burying so much shame. that it was literally me learning about God's character and that I'm loved and forgiven, that opened the door for me to kind of go, okay, like I need to sort that. And it's something that I just hung on to. It's like just being around people where it's safe to be vulnerable and open and still be accepted.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like it took me years to even get to that point where I had that initial, okay, like this is a safe place to do that. You know, it's just opened up so many things, conversations with my family, but also in that, it's like I feel like over the years, it's almost like my heart's been transformed towards people. So, like, you know, my son's father, it's like I carried so much resentment for years, and after a couple of years of coming to church, I started to pray for him, and I felt like my heart kind of softened towards him, and I actually feel like now I've completely let go and forgiven things from the past. But I actually feel like I'm seeing people more through like God's eyes. It's like, and that's something, even people in my family, it's like I feel like I don't look at people the same necessarily. I try to see people the way God sees them.
So then, like, was there a point or a process where like things, like maybe some of your preconceived notions of church, like where it started to kind of break down?
I had a crazy experience with the Holy Spirit in my car. I often listen to worship music, which you hear Pastor Caleb talk about his story when he was 18 in his room, and thinking, I'm like, is that really real, or is this just a pastor telling us a story? You know, but being honest about it, because I'm like that doesn't happen, right? Like that doesn't and of course he's going to be telling it, but it happened. It happened 6 years into my kind of experience of coming to church. I can't even explain that. The overwhelming joy, feeling of joy that I felt, like it was unequivocally to me the joy of God kind of rushing over me. But it's like, I don't want to say I've been pining for that, but I've been really kind of trying to understand what this all means for me, because if you, like I said at the beginning of this, if you take me back 6.5 years, you'd never, in a million years, catch me in a church. I would have laughed in your face. And now I'm, I enjoy it. I'm encouraging other people in our community. And it's just, anyway, it's like, how many more Jamies are out there? Guys that, don't think you need this and it's not a big deal. I got it all together, but it's like I took the time to actually understand what Christianity is and who Jesus is and who God is, and it's changed our lives.
And that's the thing that I think people don't realize is I think it's like you guys found something that you didn't know that you needed.
Yeah, 100%.
And yet when you found it, it's like, your life becomes bigger. People are impacted by it. And I think it all just points to that beauty of how God can meet each one of us in our place, in our story, and really show us so much more of who He is, and then we find out so much more of who we are.
Yes.
I just think it's a beautiful thing, and it's here's to the next 10 years of all of the other stories that are going to be created and be seen and birthed from you guys, and it was just from an invite.
Yeah.
From one person's invite.
Yep.
And it's transformed a family, and it's what's the next 10 years of invites and stories and families and people who might be living right now going unaware that there's something that's waiting for them that will make their lives that much bigger, that much more impactful, that much more hopeful.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a beautiful thing, to see somebody's story like that.
Okay, there's one key embarrassing cringy moment story. I'll maybe share that one first just to kick it off. I took the trailer home with me with a U-Haul, which for anyone that knows how we bumped into services, we had 1 or 2 U-Hauls towing our trailer with all of our audio, lighting, video, kids set up, everything that you saw happen in church was in these 2 vehicles. I come out at 7 p.m. on Saturday night, I look out my window, the U-Haul and the trailer is gone. I thought I was seeing things. I ran over to the parking lot. It's not there. And I will say that phone call to Colin was a very difficult one.
So it's like a Saturday night, and I remember I was getting out of the car with my family, going home, and I get this call from Josh, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, it's Saturday night. I pick up the phone, all I hear is deep breathing. It is just, it's gone.
I've made a very big mistake.
I'm like, what? Like, what's?
I've lost the U-Haul. What do you mean you've lost the U-Haul? Like the U-Haul and the trailer, they're not where I parked it a couple hours ago, or a couple days ago. He says, like, so they're gone? Like they're towed or they're stolen? I don't know. I live in an area where that's a gray line. It could be either or. Dude, there's $60,000 of equipment in that trailer. Is there really? Okay, I'll sort it and I'll call you back. Be praying. 4 hours later, I am in begging with this tow truck driver in his truck to let me into their yard, which was legitimately 3 feet under snow, to pull out the U-Haul and then allow me to drive that out back and park it at church Saturday night at 12 a.m., only to come back and pick it up at 5 a.m. the next day to drive it to venue. Total cost was $1,400. And he's like, how'd you want to pay? I was like, credit card.
You know, I think it can be really easy for us to celebrate the big moments of life, like those stats, the achievements, the breakthroughs, the mountaintop experiences. It's obvious, even natural, I think, for many of us to celebrate those moments. But
So true.
I think it's those ordinary moments that lead to that actually build into the extraordinary milestones.
It's true. I mean, that's where we live our lives.
Yeah,
is
it's
in
where,
the ordinary.
in process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I just think that it's like, you know, it's imperative that we learn to take pride in whatever progress God has given us along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of discovering how to take joy in the journey.
That's right. I mean, God took joy in the journey when he was creating, the earth, day one.
Yeah.
He looked back at it and said, this is good.
Yeah.
After every single day,
Totally.
he looked back, he took a moment and said, this is good. Like what I just did in day one, it's good.
Yeah.
And then day two, it's good.
Totally.
He didn't wait until day 7 at completion, like many of us do.
Yeah.
I think for many of us, we want that end game.
Yeah.
We're like,
destination disease,
yeah,
you know?
we're like, we're gonna get there. And
We
when
defer
we do,
any celebration to a destination.
yeah, where actually God is going, no, like I celebrate the first step, just as you do with a child. You celebrate the first step because
on.
you know it means they're gonna run one day.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important that we pull something from that example. And we're about to do that. We're about to look at our steps and stages as a church and, you know, the seasons that we've walked through. And I would even say we're going to look at some of the moments that maybe wouldn't make the cut when it comes to a milestone moment.
It wouldn't be your Instagrammable moments.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's honestly part of the story
Well, I
that
guess
we
it's more
pull
like
from.
hashtag Realstagram.
Yeah, and it's the moments I pull from. Actually, it's those real life moments.
Yeah.
It's what happens in between. Even when it comes to a conference, I would say it's what happens behind the scenes. Not even when it happens on the platform. It's all the extras that kind of make it what it is, right? It's where life happened.
Yeah.
It's where the memories were made. So I'm excited to look back.
Yeah, so you guys, hey, listen, what we're gonna do now is we've asked some of our team to come and share some of the more ordinary moments that in so many ways led to the extraordinary milestones that we've experienced as a church over the last 10 years.
I remember the day that you were all here and you were trying to decide on the name for the church.
So there was a lot of back and forth when it comes to deciding the name of the church. We talked about, sort of creative theme names like Create, Imagine.
What was that word you were stuck on, Matt?
I wasn't stuck on it. I just thought vibrant was a great word.
Vibrant.
A good word. And I think when it comes to choosing the final name of my church, we kind of really wanted to convey that it was something that we wanted people to have ownership of.
And whose church are you going to? Then all the jokes started.
Yeah.
Whose church are you going to? My church.
My church. Really know, but what church? My church. It's called my church.
My church? I never see them there.
They're
all
never
the
at
time.
my church.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as good as Vibrant Church, but it worked, you know?
I think Imagine Church was also a consideration.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Imagine Church was
Or what do I think of when I think of the Gladstone days? Usually, the first thing that comes to mind is actually our launch service that we had there.
We had like several hours to do a very basic setup now, looking back at it.
I just remember it being like insanely hot and there were so many people in there.
Man, it was so exciting. It was way more than I think what any of us expected.
I don't remember at this point what the capacity of that building is, but we overfilled it and then some. It was like packed to the rafters and just the atmosphere was crazy.
It was really exciting. I mean, this was like the first time that people would be coming in and joining us, and we were like inviting friends and family. So I just felt excited knowing that we were actually going to make this happen.
One of my fondest memories from the Gladstone specifically was when we first started coming. Our group was always notoriously late, but I always was amazed that we were always a row back further each week, and sometimes we were 2 rows back further. And it was just crazy to see how quickly the church was growing and how quickly people were drawn to this new thing that was happening in our community. And so to see that tangible growth and the way that God was reaching out to people each and every week was amazing.
Sisterhood for me started in Pastor Julie's living room with 3 girls, and we, for months, would just get the culture of what sisterhood was, hear her heart on what she wanted from sisterhood. Sisterhood was a dream in Pastor Julie's heart. Like, it was a dream in her heart for years.
I remember leading up to the first Sisterhood, there was just so much excitement, and I think I invited like every single woman that I knew in Ottawa.
But I really didn't know what to expect. I know that Pastor Julie had really put forward, honestly, a really big vision for what we were believing was going to be a great night. And we were talking everything from things that are really standard for us now, but back then, honestly, we just had no grid for. Things like a red carpet, things like all the guys getting dressed up and, you know, going around and actually serving high quality food, not just church grade coffee and barely edible biscuits.
I've never seen Pastor Julie that excited for anything in my life. Like, I've seen this woman like when she's had her first child, and I don't think since then that I've seen her that excited.
I was so excited, like my body, I think there's a shot of me walking through the crowd and I look, the only way that I can describe it is like, you know when you look at a gerbil in a cage and it's just so excited, like just so excited and jazzed on life. That was me.
There was just so much expectation for what was about to happen, and I mean, it delivered. It was an incredible night, so encouraging, so inspiring.
I don't know if anyone remembers Retreat. We used to go to this place in New York, and you know, many things happened. Many funny things happened when you get people out in the woods just having a fun time. And
So we brought a pair of boxing gloves.
I was standing in the hallway, you were beside me 1 second, the next second you were gone, and there was just this gaggle of guys that ran by. And someone came by like, it's Fight Club.
What? And I'm like, this will be amazing. And then you had Matt Hyde, who was like 7'9" and 700 pounds, and he's like, all right, like everyone's shaking in their boots, like this is my, I might see the Lord tonight.
Justin doesn't even know it's coming.
Big giant.
Oh!
Oh, man. And then Colin is, if you want to say the best boxer, is the master of footwork and running away.
Hands up. In that pocket. Stab it. Oh!
I don't know what other people have said, but I truly feel I was the champion.
There's no follow-up.
There's a ton of unexpected stuff. Like, we just do whatever pops into our heads. And luckily, Pastor Caleb and Julie are just cool to let it happen, so.
Well, 2015 marked the launch of Sisterhood Conference, which we now know as Flourish Conference, but we launched out 2015 strong, out the gate. It was incredible. The whole, Sisterhood Conference environment is like nothing else that we do as a church. You walk in the doors, there's a red carpet, all these guys are lined along the carpet cheering you in. There's the pamper zones, nails, massage. Gosh, so good. There's the clothing swap. All the while, food is circling. It's an environment to take in and to enjoy. And then, as you walk in through the doors of the auditorium, some hilarity is happening on the stage as you're finding your seating.
We're doing a Revelations bit, so we're gonna do like a funny kind of like, I don't even know, lip sync battle type thing. Just make massive fools of ourselves.
And then you have the openers. Oh, our team plans and plots and prepares for an incredible opener to really honestly set the stage for all that God is going to do across the conference.
That'll be like lights there, and then the drum will come in and go.
And then we have our teams who have tirelessly prepared to create a worship encounter for women to walk in and experience God for themselves. The messages that go out are always tailor-made to speak to the heart of a woman, and it does just that. It brings transformation to every woman who is in the room. We've seen miracles, truly miracles, break out over people's lives because they were in the room. We've seen women set free of anxiety and depression. We've seen stories of women coming in with cancer and leaving completely cancer-free. We've seen babies born miraculously. We've seen hope rise in people's lives. It's honestly because of the environment that happens at these sisterhood conferences, at Flourish Conference, where God honestly has the space to move in women's lives like never before, and I'm so thankful for it.
I was going through some really rough stuff when I first started coming to church. Custody issues with my kids. It was very important for me to bring them to church. It was very important for them to get that love, not just from me, but from other people. That was my heart, and all of a sudden my church comes into play and embraces my children in a way that I never expected. And to see them grow up and know Jesus and have people that know me and love on them. I remember having a really hard time and somebody just coming up and being there for me, being there for my family, helping us in tangible ways, like when I, didn't even have money for milk, and people just knew that. It's one of those things that man, God's always been there. And I look at my life and my kids' life and I see God. He really used the people of this church. And I don't even say the church, because the church isn't a church, it's the people that make the church. And it was all the people, Caleb and Julie and Colin, Christian and Donna. There's so many people in my life that just loved on me, and that's all you need to do is love on people and show them how Christ would love on people, and it's life-changing.
Yeah, it was so fun. Hear Your Heart Project was seriously like a really good time.
Yeah.
Skip and Julie, they always had it in the heart from day one that they want our house to have songs and to be able to write songs for the church. And when you're creating songs that are about Christ or to help people, move their eyes from themselves to Jesus, it's just hard not to be inspired and just be pumped about it. So
when we launched kind of MCM officially with Hear Your Heart, I think that was kind of like the stake in the ground to go like, hey, like we're really starting to just open up the door a crack to what God had spoken over our house when it came to creativity and having a new song. And then to see too, like the team rally around it with radio calls.
I think I showed up and somebody put a phone in my hand and said, hey, we need to get on some radio stations.
And we called radios in the furthest corners of the world.
One thing I remember so vividly was the first time that we actually heard the song on the radio.
So look at that. This is freaking cool. My church music.
Here is My Church Music.
Some of the stations were in different countries that we were on, and just flipping through radio stations, and I literally hear our song come on while I'm on a road trip, not even in my own city.
I think there was radios in Germany playing it, in the US, obviously in Canada.
And every time we got a yes from a radio station, we'd add it to the bottom of the list, and we'd have this like little moment of celebration, like, yo, we're on another station. Where is it? Oh, it's in South Africa. What? How'd that happen?
Whether it was singing the national anthem at a hockey game, whether it was playing in the atrium before or after different games, like soccer games, hockey games. It was like the amount of reach that we had, I think, was disproportionate to the size of our church, of our team, of our creative team. And I think for me, that really shows too. To me, it highlights the fact that God's hand was and is on our creative ministries and on MCM. It's like, I think it's just the beginning. It's really just cracking the door open, I think, on what God can and wants to do when it comes to the new songs that are going to come out of our house.
So 2018 was an incredible year in the best possible way. My church became Hillsong and then became My Church again.
Yeah, it was a great year. We learned so much, and hey, we are more courageous and confident in who God has called us to be than ever because of it.
Yep, for us, always and forever will be grateful.
Yes.
For senior pastors Brian and Bobby,
Yep.
and the entire Hillsong global team.
So grateful.
Many lessons and lots of wisdom learned along the way.
Yeah.
2018.
What a year.
It was a milestone year for sure.
Yeah, summer camp 2019. Gosh. So I was preaching one night, and I would say that I was preaching straight fire because we actually had a barbecue that lit on fire while I was preaching.
We were all outside during the session, kind of just deciding we were going to prepare for breakfast the next morning and pre-cook the bacon. We thought this was a great idea.
The guest services team was trying to cook bacon on a barbecue, and that was completely fail.
So Chad has the barbecue. Tyler worked with a fire extinguisher. Chad's over here, like just getting ready to like lift the barbecue, and then you have Tyler with the fire extinguisher over here, just ready to go. But it was great.
And it literally went up in flames and burned someone's like hair. You know, summer camp's completely safe, so make sure you send all your kids there next year.
just want to welcome you to My Church Online. And as you know, man, the world is, it's a strange place right now.
Man, oh my gosh! What is going on? Why? Lord help me. Pray for me. Oh, okay. Oh, why is this doing this?
There it is, you guys, 10 years of ministry, and I'm not sure how you properly, inadequately can condense all the memories, moments, milestones into just a few short minutes, but we've done our best with the time that we have, and obviously there's much more to come still. I want you to stick around. Lots more stories are going to be shared, but the reality is over the last 10 years, we've really seen so many incredible moments take place, you know, from people falling in love, man. The amount of people that have come, met one another, and fallen in love here in our house.
Just a wave of weddings, as Pastor Steve
And
said.
those who have now begun to start families and popping up kids left, right, and center. You know, the amount of friendships that have been forged just over the last 10 years.
I love that,
You know, it's crazy if you look across your life and you really take inventory of the relationships in your life, how many the cause have created in your community. You know, I think that relationships, man, that have come about, it's just amazing. I think about the countless amount of people who have come to faith in Jesus as a result of this church, as a result of the relationships they have with many of you, and how many people not just believe but equally belong. I mean, shoot.
Right. There's a place for them to grow and flourish.
It's incredible. I mean, the memories, we've laughed so much.
So
there has
much.
been so many hilarious moments
So much laughter along
that
the
if you
way.
really stop, if you really do stop and you really think about it, either hilarity is just peppered throughout.
I think we're going to close off with some funny moments. Hey?
We've cried, you know, we've shared some of life's highest highs, and we've navigated some of life's lowest lows together.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that that's what is so beautiful about journeying with people, doing life with people. You know, it's, I think of even the moment, man, one of the most crazy, profound moments for myself was sitting bedside with Bill McCallum, the moments before he passed, and he had asked that we come and pray with him. And I remember at the time we were expecting to see his family, and they just slipped out to get a bite to eat. And Colin and I just kind of slipped in and just prayed for him. And I remember as we finished our prayer, he was unresponsive at the time, but he mustered up this like grunt to let us know like an amen with us.
Wow.
And that was so impactful for me. I never forgot how privileged we were to be a part of that moment for Bill and Gwen and the entire family. And shortly after we slipped out, he actually went to be with Jesus. Wow. And we were some of the last people that would have saw him. And I just look at like, you know, what it is to pastor a community, you guys, and what it is. Whew. Wow. It's just made up of so many great memories, so many powerful moments. And it's like, it's not until you take time, like now, to really, go back and to look back and to receive a blast from the past, that you can truly appreciate how far God has brought you and what he's accomplished.
It's okay.
But I guess that's what, you know, family's all about. For me, this moment is longevity's perspective. You know, it really has bred in me a sense of awe, reverence, humility of what it means to do life together. You know, it's been filled with so many people who have come, and sadly we've seen some people go. And, you know, as the old saying goes, you know, there's people coming to your life for a reason, a season, and or a lifetime. And, you know, whatever brought people here or took people there, I think that for me, I'm just so grateful for all of it. And I'm grateful for you guys who have been part of the journey. And I'm just grateful for each and every person who's ever sown, sacrificed, and served alongside us for the last 10 years. Guys, we just celebrate you. We celebrate God, and we celebrate his goodness across this house.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, our hope is that you would lean into this moment where we are taking time to look back across our collective story as a house, and as we've looked across the individual stories, the personal stories, which have made up ours. So the truth is, your story is what makes our collective story so impactful and beautiful. And I just pray that as we have looked across ours, that it has inspired you to take a look at your own story, your own God story that he's written in your own life thus far. There's a great history of God in your story, but there is so much more of your story to be written. And I pray that as you look at your history, that you would have great hope and inspiration to pull on for your future and for your destiny in God. I'm believing that our best days, hey, like I really sense that our best days
for your
are
own
ahead.
life, our city, our church.
Yeah.
I'm believing that, you know, the absolute, I mean, if the last decade really,
Gosh.
if you look back and you go, man, look at all that God has accomplished.
He's been
Look at all
so
that he's done.
faithful.
I
There's
just feel like
so
this
many
next 10 years
more.
is a blank canvas. God going like, see, I did that, and I exceeded your wildest dreams of some of the things I accomplished.
He really did.
This next 10 years is going to be even exponentially more, considering the foundation that we have.
Yeah, and
you
to
know?
think that,
and the wisdom that we have to find our way forward.
I mean, we don't even see it. I mean, our children are going to continue, you know, our children's children are going to continue the work of what it is that we're pioneering right now. So we have no idea. We have no idea, but I'm excited.
So today I want to encourage you guys, celebrate because God is good, the future is bright,
The future is friendly, people.
and the best is yet to come.
Amen.
I think a question a lot of people always have is, Matt, why do you look so constipated when you were playing the piano on the stage? Honestly, it's weird because I'll look back at these pictures and even I'm confused. Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I crying to God? I truly don't know. I have no idea.
Literally looking like a baby.
Like all of us were back then.
Okay, no, I got it. Okay. This is a real life story, people.
And the one girl does the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and she then drops the mic. Those things are several $100s. She nailed the song though.
Just doing crazy things with Colin on stage for like Sisterhood events or retreat events. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there it is right there.
Cut that, please. Gosh.
We were collecting food every Sunday, and somebody had to take the food to deliver it to the food bank. So I'm like, throw it all in my van. You know, the team loads all the food in my van, and it's literally, you couldn't see a space. It was from like floor to ceiling, all the way from the back, right to the front seat, right behind me. And both tires, like a hole, like I'm not even kidding, my tires didn't just pop, it blew a hole this big out of both my tires on my van. This probably wasn't a good idea.
Wait, that was the Connect group?
We prayed at the end.
It was so hilarious because I'm getting baptized where they feed cows. This is interesting.
Things were going all right, and then the elevator broke.
That was a rough Monday explaining to the school that their elevator was destroyed.
Having to use the stairs, carry heavy stuff, or
Good times, good times.
There was, I don't know how many TVs.
I've run the numbers a couple times, and at least 4 others were broken. I want to say it's in the low 20s.
Thank God for the warranty that we just pushed to its absolute maximum.
And I think I've served on every single team.
It was almost a guarantee when we were having service in the early days that it wouldn't go to plan.
I'm looking around, nothing's going right. I see Steve Penny with this blank stare on his face.
And then it was creative teams.
Getting a phone call.
I think I went from creative teams to generation teams.
That's actually my favorite memory from the last 10 years, is any time we played Cornerstone.
All the people teams at one point.
What was it, a Sisterhood? Smoke starts coming out. So does someone leave the fog machine on? What?
LV set is on fire. Like fire, like fire. And we just see people just like, just booking it to the main odd.
And then was generations. Am I forgetting one? Anyways, it's been a lot.
A sample of that rap? Here we go. One thing, you don't know why. It doesn't even matter. Oh God. One second. I got it.
But yeah, I show up late.
Brum came up with the idea that if you showed up after a certain time, or if you were the last person to show up, you'll buy coffee. Yeah, I owe so many coffees.
Boom. Is that good?
Yeah, all the feels, eh?